Happy Monday, everyone. I know the first day of your work week has gone swimmingly and you want to end it in great fashion here at Griffin Eye News with Dame Arwyn discussing heraldry.
Okay.
So today we are going to look at that thing that keeps your pants from falling down, belts. So a plain, unadorned red, green, and yellow belts are reserved for squires, apprentices, and proteges respectively, correct?
Depends on what kingdom you are. So surprisingly, unbeknownst to most people, we have been developing our laws associated with what we considered to be acceptable. And although we consider squires to have red belts in Abacal, very distinctively within Abacal, we don't actually have that written down anywhere. Some kingdoms will actually say that a red, unadorned belt are for squires, yellow belts are for proteges, and green belts are for apprentices. Abacal has had a very long history of the red belt and the squire. The proteges and the apprentices are a fairly new thing, and with some influx from other kingdoms, such as myself and some other people, there has been this movement towards following other kingdoms in that tradition. But not everybody wears a belt who might be a student to appear. So Her Grace Inga is squired to a knight. And you never see her wear a red belt, except for when she's fighting. It's because when she is dressed in Norse, she has a red set of beads that she goes from her festoons that was given by her knight to represent the relationship that they have for squire and knight from that perspective. So be careful. At least in Abacal, there's a lot of stealthy belty people out there that might have an entire chain or an entire bead section of yellow to indicate that they are a protege, such as Gwen, who got that from Fergus, or the red one that Inga has that she got from her knight. So not everybody wears an unadorned belt. So be careful on finding it. And be more respectful to find out whether someone has a relationship with a peer. Because not everybody wears a belt. And some people only wear one and not all three. At one point, I was a traffic light, which meant that I was a squire, which was a red belt, and a protege, which was a yellow belt, and an apprentice, which is a green belt, which looks like a traffic light. You hardly ever saw me wear the other two. You often saw me, at least on the field, wearing my red belt. So just because someone has one doesn't mean that they can't have three, or just because someone has one, they could have two. So sometimes it's a matter of asking those questions to that individual. And be careful about the stealthy ones with
So someone may be in service and they're just not letting it be known publicly.
That's correct.
So speaking of things that are unadorned and moving upwards on the body as far as accoutrement, circlets. So can anyone wear a simple unadorned circlet as long as I don't have crenellations, or what are the rules for that?
Well, again, Avical's still working out what we want to have, but typically in most kingdoms, so if you go to the mid realm, they're extremely rigid in how they define it. They used to say anything above an inch would be considered to be presumptuous above an AOA. So an inch and a below, so a band, a circlet all the way around that was an inch or less would be considered to be someone who is considered to have an AOA. Anything above that, especially if you did a bump on it or you did any indication of it, would indicate that you have some sort of, whether you had some sort of rank above an AOA. So that could be a court baroness or court baronetcy, which would mean that you're an excellency because you either sat the throne of a barony or you currently just got a court baronetcy, or whether you sat the throne of a principality or you sat the throne of a kingdom. Most of the time they tend to be above that inch level. Now be careful when you move and you travel or you go to other kingdoms, different rules exist. So I still remember being at Pennsic and walking past one of my friends, Vardo's, and we were having problems finding Callantir because of course it was nighttime and we were having problems finding it. And my friend came out and he says, "Oh, so you're the prince and princess of Abacal." Because in some kingdoms, when you look at a crown and it's silver, so our crowns are very silverly looking. Okay, so they're white gold. They're really awesome and they look amazing. But in some kingdoms, if anything that isn't gold would be considered to be associated with the prince or princess. So he kind of goes, "So they're your crown princess?" And I said, no, they're their majesties of Abacal. Those are white gold crowns. And he says, "Oh, I'm sorry," because in his world, only the king and queen would wear gold, whereas the prince and princess would wear silver. So different places have different requirements for different metals that are associated with your circlet. So my knight has a silver coronet with strawberry leaves on it. In most kingdoms in the mid realm, who came out of the mid realm, normally if you're a duke, you have a gold crown or gold coronet with strawberry leaves on it. In the East, they don't care. So it depends on where you're from. So we don't really have some of those rules here. We just follow sort of the basics, right? So just be careful that when you're traveling, it's not as easy to recognize people. So.
Okay, so that's again good to know if I'm going to be moving around at any point. So I'm going to ask you a question about what something is, because I've heard rumors, and I hope you might put them to rest here. Can you talk about the Academy of St Gabriel? What do they do?
Well, the Academy of St Gabriel were these amazing people, probably late 90s, early 2000s, that spent a lot of time doing detailed research, particularly in names, for the SCA and for the medieval community as a whole. They were amazing heralds. I know quite a few of them. Talon and a couple other people wrote lots and lots of articles. Good chunk of them still play in the FCA, and a good chunk of them are members of the College of Arms. They prided themselves on not only meeting the SCA requirements, but providing detailed research to provide documented names that did exist in period based on documented, attested period resources that they could actually show that that name existed in period. And their level of documentation is quite substantial, to the point where the College of Arms in the SCA today will take their reports as acceptable documentation for you to have that name. So the Academy of St Gabriel is a good place to find, used to be the good place to find weird, I don't know whether you could get this done. And many years ago, they used to provide a service that you could actually go online and say, I want to document Fiona as a name. And they would go and look for all the documentation to support your name. And they would provide you a report back that says it was found in this document, in this document, in this document, and it was changed to be this, to the point where it was like an academic paper, which is why the College of Arms accepts it now. So we like that. And we can accept it as a way to register your stuff. Now, they all got tired. They did it for probably 15 years, so they got tired. But the Academy of St. Gabriel's website still exists. All of those reports still exist. For the most part, unless we've found documentation that refutes it, we still accept those reports as primary documentation. So sometimes when we're stuck, we'll say, hey, did you check the Academy of St. Gabriel? And it's a great place. They have a lot of really cool articles. They were the ones who premiered and moved towards documenting things like Japanese personas, Japanese names, Mongolian names, Asian names, a lot of our extra European personas. And a lot of that research came out of that academy and those people who were very, very dedicated to helping us move our name documentation way further than we had ever done. So, you know, as a person who got their name originally documented and accepted by a member of the College of, or the member of the Academy of St. Gabriel, Master Talon, I certainly like that he was willing to go to bat for my name back in 1993 to help me get it registered. And those are where those people came from. Good chunk of them are still playing in the SCA, and you could still get a lot more of their research, but it's a really, really good, you know, history of how far we've come and how we've documented stuff. And we're still needing to do more. With the expansion of the SCA and our scope now being 1600 and above for anywhere in the entire world, that means that we have more work to do. So anybody who's wanting to help out, contact us. We're looking for help.
Okay, well, that's an excellent idea for a resource. So yeah, anyone who wants to know anything about Academy of St. Gabriel or wants to check it out, check out the link and we can send it over. So I want to thank you for your time again, Dame Arwyn. It's always edifying to speak to you.
Thank you.
And we will catch you next week.